Good evening to you all. I would like to thank Khaki Lab Mumbai for giving me this opportunity to speak on popular pastimes, traditional games of Goa. I invite you to a journey briefly into the past, to the period following the arrival of the Portuguese, as we examine how the colonizers lived and pursued leisure. In doing so, we will also consider whether their lifestyle had any influence on the Goan community, though, as the examples I will discuss suggest, such influence appears to have been minimal or absent. Francois Pirard of Laval, a French traveler who was in Goa for 20 months from May 1608 to February 1610, gives us a good account of Goa's lifestyle during that period in his book Voyages. This is what he has to say about the entertainment and games played at the time. I quote, the exercises of the Portuguese as well as Goa as at other places in the Indies consist in the first place in the use of arms and riding and in making on Sundays and holidays 1,000 facades and carriers on their horses, during which they throw oranges, canes, and reeds, all being equipped and arrayed in their best. Unquote. The Portuguese called the games Jogo de Laranjas and Jogo de Canas. Imagine a spectacle of color, skill, and controlled combat on horseback. This was the world of Portuguese equestrian games in Old Goa. One of the most popular was Jogo das Canas, played by noblemen during the 16th, 17th, and 18th centuries, especially at the Terreiro dos Galos. Picture an arena divided into two sections, each marked by a central pole. Players dressed in colorful attire lined up on either side, each carrying a cane, which is called a cana, and a shield. Then one player from each side would ride forward. After passing their pole, they would throw canes at each other, aiming to strike their opponent while defending themselves with their shield or by deflecting the cane. After this exchange, they would move to the other side before returning. The game continued pair by pair until everyone had taken a turn. The contest only ended when all had played. Another game was Jogo de Laranjas, or Alcancias, played in the 16th and 17th centuries, sometimes along with the Jogo das Canas. Here, riders threw orange-sized clay balls, often filled with flowers or sweets. They carried shields painted with their coat of arms and tried to strike each other or even the horse while defending themselves with their shields. These games are more than just entertainment. They showcase the skill, power, and status of the nobility. Only they could perform such displays, offering a spectacle for the local people to watch and admire. Yet, despite all this grandeur, these Portuguese pastimes seem to have had little influence on the wider Goan community. The Portuguese also allowed the operation of game houses where cards and dice contests were organized. These establishments had to pay a tax to the authorities, and outside them, people dare not play as fines for illegal gambling were severe. The owners of these houses made substantial profits, and many patrons spent long hours there, some even eating, drinking, and sleeping on the premises, as gambling was their main occupation.
Dr. Lourdes, may I interrupt
Were
you
well
here?
organized and often lavishly decorated, with special rooms for those who wished to use them. To entertain the players, beautiful girls and female slaves performed and sang. According to Pirard, Portuguese also enjoyed games such as draughts and chess and dice and other board games. Some played the backgammon, often with betting involved. Dice were used in games like blackgammon, snakes and ladders, and even Monopoly. While backgammon is not usually associated with India today, it was commonly played here during the Mughal and British periods, reflecting Persian and later European cultural influence. Turning to a local contest, Zen Nicolau de Fonseca, a Goan based in Bombay, who towards the second half of the 19th century collected material for the Imperial Gazetteer of India, described the games played in Goa in his book, An Historical and Archaeological Sketch of the City of Goa. I quote him, the chief games and amusements among the educated are card, backgammon, and chess. Among the lower ranks, the following may be mentioned. One such game was tablam, a type of draught played on a quadrangular board divided into 4 rows of 12 squares each. I will talk in detail about this game later. Beyond the structured games of cards and board games, children in Goa also had their own lively pastime. According to Fonseca, these included the circundo, I'm using the native name in Cockney, a game played at the foot of a low branching tree. One boy guards a stick and the base while the others climb and perch on the branches. The climbers try to descend and touch the stick, while the boy below attempts to stop them and can even climb the tree to tag his friend. If he succeeds, he is relieved of guarding the stick and the tagged player takes his place. Another game that he described was folio, a game played on a large parallelogram drawn on the ground, divided into a smaller section intersected by parallel lines. Each line is guarded by a boy, where others try to enter the inner sections without being touched, and then return to their starting point. This is also called as midfolio. Apa Lipa, identical to the
Dr. Lourdes, do we need
Apa,
to
yeah,
move?
yeah, Apa Lipa, identical to the English name hide and seek. Then we have Andrew Boya, similar to blind man's buff. Both games were enjoyed even by children of the upper class. Another pastime for older participants was bianni or cockfighting, popular in the 16th century at the Terreiro dos Galos in Old Goa. There was even a place which was called Terreiro dos Galos because at this place the fight used to take place. Owners would sharpen the beaks of their cocks or cover them with metal. Fights continued until one cock was killed or left the circle. This game was mainly patronized by slaves and servants. Having explored the games and pastimes of the Portuguese and the local Goan communities in earlier centuries, we now turn to the traditional games played by my generation in the 20th century. Many of the common man games, such as tabla, circundo, and folio, continue to be played by the next generation, alongside a whole range of other traditional games. These are deeply rooted in daily life and community, accessible to all children and young people, and required skill, imagination, and participation rather than wealth or status. They reflected the vibrant culture of Goan neighborhoods, schoolyards, and streets where play was an essential part of growing up. We played games that could be enjoyed indoors or outdoors, depending on the season. Indoor games often involve pretend play. One of our favorite was house, where we suddenly became adults, mothers, fathers, children, and sometimes even dolls. The mother cooked imaginary meals, rocked the baby to sleep, and sang lullabies. Then came the grand event, the weddings, where we acted out all the rituals with great seriousness until someone forgot their lines and we burst out laughing. Playing school was also popular, as the quietest child could become the strict teacher and the students would pretend to be naughty, giving the teacher a chance for harmless revenge. Before starting most games, especially the outdoor games, we had to choose the den or chaser. This was done through playful counting out rhymes. We would all stand in a circle, clapping our hands, while out one child pointed at each of us in turn and recited a rhyme. The last word decided who became the den. No one really knew what all the words meant, but that did not matter. The excitement and anticipation made the games begin with cheers, laughter, and sometimes protests. Here are examples in Konkani and Portuguese of the rhymes. I quote one. Apti dopti hauchem pan, galvo baby mojen pan, apo jingapo, kari miri karapo. So that would be the last word. The person will be out. We have one in Portuguese. I will quote. Adão, pedão, saco de melão, down din, pas pus, push, pu, caiu fus. Then the fus is the last word. And another one that we had action and also a rhyme was is the odd man out, where it would say ram 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 lai sut lyo. So whoever in the group had an odd position, they would have to move out. Here both palms are used to clap each other, and when a player stops, he can have the palms facing up or one on top of the other. Whoever has it in different position is a den. No one really knew what all the words meant, but that did not matter. The last word decided the den, and the game would begin amidst cheers and protests. Street and chasing games were the heart of our play. A basic game of touch would start anywhere, in the yard, on the street, or in an open field. The person who was it chased the others, and the moment someone was tagged, they became the new chaser. We also played cat and mouse, dog and the bone, and many other energetic games that kept us running, laughing, and sometimes arguing about who was really caught. Catching games were a bit more complex, with objectives beyond simply avoiding the chaser. In games like cops and robbers, the robbers would hide or run while the cops tried to catch them. In lock and key, they then attempted to tag players and lock them, while others performed daring rescues. These games demanded speed, alertness, teamwork, and quick thinking, qualities that made them exciting and memorable. One memory that connects to my growing up is the popular forfeit, a game we played during summer holidays at the beach. My generation, Portuguese speaking at the time, learned English only after the annexation of Goa in 1961. The rules in forfeit, the rules are simple and exciting. The loser had to perform a forfeit, a fun task, or action as a or action as a penalty for losing. While researching traditional games later, I realized that this was essentially the game of twos and threes, renamed by us for the action it required. This game was especially popular during annual summer holidays and picnics, often on the beach, which was our favorite gathering spot. Our favorites included lance or asket and a basket, which were equally fun and energetic. These games were not just pastimes, they were social events, lessons in strategy, teamwork, and community bonding. Now we have the games of skill. Apart from pretend games and chasing games, my generation also loved games that require real skill, focus, and practice. One favorite was playing with hoops, which most of us must have done, and even children do today, with just a simple metal or wooden hoop and a stick. We roll in along the road, guiding it carefully. Sometimes we raced to see whose hoop could go the farthest without falling, requiring balance, concentration, and a steady hand. Another popular game, especially among girls, was five stone. Using five small stones, we tossed one into the air by quickly picking up the others in different combinations before catching the falling one. It looked simple, but it required quick reflexes, steady hands, and sharp concentration. Then there was Logorio, also known as the game of seven tiles. One team would stack seven flat stones on top of each other, while other team threw a ball to knock them down. Once the tiles were scattered, the first team had to rebuild the pile as quickly as possible, while the opposing team tried to hit them with the ball. This fast-paced game demanded teamwork, speed, and courage, and was always full of laughter and excitement. Sometimes fights too. Marbles were another favorite. We took them very seriously. We aimed carefully, calculated angles, and tried to strike friends' marbles out of the circle. One special marble game called Milani was best played during the monsoon. The soil was soft, allowing players to make the meal, a small peat or target. This was made using the heel on the soft surface. The player would aim from a designated line, trying to land the marble in the meal. Success meant winning the marble, while precise control and dexterity were essential. As mentioned in the poster, we will discuss the cashew fruit's importance to us kids, not as a tasty nut, but an object to play with. Bianni or with cashew nut, a traditional game played by youngsters during the summer months when cashews were ripe for plucking. Children would collect these nuts and use them to play a variety of fun and skill-based games. In the first game, a group of players stand at a distance from a tree or a wall. Each player throws a cashew nut to decide who will play first, with the nut landing closest to the tree or wall determining the starting player. The chosen player then takes a larger cashew nut called the bottle and throws it against the floor so that it bounces off the wall or tree. The challenge is to catch it after the bounce. If successful, the player wins the game and can collect all the nuts thrown by the others. The second game involves arranging cashew nuts in a line, with the first nut standing upright as the head of the line. Players stand about 4 to 5 meters away, forming a T with the line. Each player strikes the nut using the bottle. Nuts that fall from the point of contact onwards are collected by the player. If the standing nut at the head of the line is hit, the player wins all the nuts and a new round begins. These games are not only a test of skill and accuracy, but also a fun way for children to enjoy the cashew harvest. These games, these games are not only a test of skill and accuracy, but also a fun way for children to enjoy the cashew harvest and the summertime combining strategy, coordination, and friendly competition. Cartannim is a game played with empty cigarette boxes, which are flattened to allow for a better fling. The basic objective is simple. The player who throws a card over another wins all the cards, and the ultimate goal is to collect the highest number of cards. An adapted version of the game involves throwing the cards against a wall or the trunk of a tree from a distance so that they bounce back. The players who manage to cover another card in this way wins it. Children often collected boxes from shops, friends, and family members, and they competed to find those that were less common, such as the boxes of the cigarettes, Capstan, Gold Flake, or Humoria. Beyond the competitive game, kids also enjoyed using empty cigarette boxes creatively to build houses. Cards were arranged vertically to form the first floor, and flat cards were played on top to create the floor for additional stories. Constructing this card house required patience, concentration, and skill, as even a small mistake could bring the entire structure tumbling down. Mischievous players sometimes added to the challenge by touching or blowing on a card, causing the whole house to collapse. Another variation involved arranging the cards in a serpentine line where care and steady hands were essential because a single touch could topple the entire sequence. These cigarette boxes were in many ways the original Lego sets for children, a free, creative, and endlessly entertaining pastime. These games of skill were more than just play. They encouraged precision, strategy, patience, and creativity, while bringing friends together in shared challenges. Unlike many modern toys, everything we needed was freely available in our environment, from stones and hoops to cashew nuts and empty boxes. In that sense, they were not just games, they were lessons in ingenuity and community life, connecting us to both the land and each other. Carom is a popular game played on a square board with four openings in each corner. Most of you know the carom board, and each is fitted with a nut pocket to collect the coins. The game is believed to have originated in Goa and comes with a cure and dramatic legend. According to this tale, a lady named Corona did the toe of St. Francis Xavier and used to play with a striker. It is said that the name Karam is derived from her name. The game is played with 9 black wooden coins and 9 beige coins and 1 red coin called the queen. I'm not going to go into details of this game because it is available everywhere and most of the people know how to play the carom. I presume that. But I'll go for another variation that we used to play, which is a popular variation among children called money money. In this version, the coins are assigned each values, cash values, sorry. White coins are worth 20, black coins 10, and the queen is worth 50. Players can strike any colored coin into the pockets, and points are tallied based on the coins collected. The winner is the player who accumulates the highest value of coins, making the game more both strategic and exciting. I'm going now to the next game, which is the tablam. It's a two-player game in which each player has 12 chips of a different color, typically, typically black and white or yellow. The game is played on a special board marked with lines and squares, though it can also be drawn on a floor or table. The board consists of 2 rows, each containing 12 squares. At the start, each player fills one of the outer rows with their colored chips. Players choose their color, and the one with the white chips begins the game. The starting play is usually decided by tossing a coin or by throwing the tablam sticks. The game uses 4 tablam sticks made of bamboo, with one side of each stick marked or colored. To begin, a player must throw the sticks and obtain a tabla, meaning 3 sticks land with the colored side facing up and one with the uncolored side up. We have that as the first picture. Then the player first tosses the sticks into the air and catches all 4 at once, then throws them onto the table or floor where the tablam board is placed. After this, the sticks are tossed and thrown again to determine how many spaces the player can move their chips. The scoring works as follows. 1 color side and 3 blank sides is 1 point. 2 colored and 2 black sides, there are 2 points. 3 colored and 1 blank side is 6 points. And all 4 colored sides is 12 points. They have also added now the all blank and they give 8 points for the all blank. Players move their chips towards the opponent side of the board, entering the inner row and attempting to occupy spaces held by the opponent. If a player lands on a square occupied by an opponent's chip that has not moved, they can capture, that means remove that chip from the board. The game ends when one player successfully moves all or the majority of the chips into the opponent's side of the board. Now we have another game which is called tiktem, and I would like to move the next picture. That is a square with numbers drawn there so that I can explain how the player moves. Two players take turns to place a man or any of the points of intersection on the board. The object is to place three men in a line that forms a tiktem. When a player achieves this, he is entitled to impound, that is, to remove one of his opponent's men from the board. When each player has had 9 turns, all the men not already impounded remain on the board, and the game changes in character. The men can now be moved. The objective is still being to get 3 in a row, and the players still continuing to impound. The second player makes it difficult for the other to complete the line by placing his shell or stone, that's the man, on the line. However, he also tries to make his own tiktem. A man may be moved only to a vacant point of intersection next to his present position. Thus, a man at 1 can move to 2 or 10, at 2 to 1 or 5, at 21 to 14 or 20, and so on. If one player is reduced to only 3 men, he can hop to any vacant place he pleases. The final struggle takes place when both players are hopping and the winner being the first to make his 3 in a row. Now will you show the next set of photos, the PP? Okay, we have here a tablam which is similar to the colorful one that has been first shown on this PP. However, this tabla table is an heritage tabla table. You all can see that the color difference, although the present modern artisans are trying to have a copy of the old tabla table, they have not been able to come to that perfection. Now, this tabla, the second picture of this PP, the tabla is open with a sliding cover, and then you can see that there are some holes here, some 7 holes here. I will explain later what it means. And then we have the other side of the cover, the sliding cover, where you can see another game which is called Vagani. On the marked yellow, you have another game, and then you see a green reverse of the table, which has got
The tiktem.
game that is called tiktem. So which I have explained to you, the tiktem, I had to draw and put the numbers so you could understand and follow what I was trying to say. But this is a tiktem on the reverse side of the table. Now coming to the game Vagani, which has got the third one, the third PP here, the third PP. The Vagani game is the yellow marked area. It's a hunt style games and are believed to have originated with shepherds who spend much of their time protecting their flocks from predators. In this game, one or more powerful animals such as lions compete against a larger number of weaker animals like goats. The game is played on a grid which serves as the playing surface. The stronger pieces can capture the weaker ones by jumping over them in a straight line into an empty space beyond them. The weaker pieces, however, do not have this ability. Instead, they rely on working together to surround and trap the stronger pieces. When the stronger animals are immobilized, the weaker sides win. Conversely, the stronger side wins when there are too few weaker pieces left to successfully trap them. The board used for the game is often not a permanent one. Players usually create the grid on the spot by drawing it on the ground with a stick, sketching it with chalk or stone, or scratching it onto a surface. These temporary boards are often used only once. Similarly, the playing pieces are improvised. Tigers and goat can be represented by pebbles, seeds, or other small objects, as long as they can be easily distinguished from one another. These actually, the laborers, you would find, we can find them still here in Goa. Laborers are not many of them from Goa. They're coming from Karnataka and all, and they live here. They draw these boards on the floor during their lunch break and play with each other. Now, another game that I was said about this table, those circles or holes that you can see, it is called good for lane, and it is featured on this heritage board. Now, no other boards in the present boards make this these or has good for lane in on the board. It is also played using tablam stick, with each player having their own set of pieces, that is the men, and the pieces are moved from one circle space to another based on the throw of the tablam. The
Can
objective
you
of
tell
the
us
game
which
is to
slide it is on?
play as many of the opponent's pieces as possible, and the player who collects the highest number of pieces wins the game.
Can you tell us which of
Yeah,
these is the game that you mentioned?
I can't hear you talking. Yeah, okay. I will conclude by saying the examples illustrate the rich diversity of games in Goa, ranging from fascinating to paint a vivid picture of leisure activities across different social classes. These examples show that both Portuguese and Goan communities had rich tradition of games and leisure. However, as we have seen, the Portuguese pastime, whether spectacular equestrian displays or elaborate gambling houses, had little lasting influence on the everyday recreational life of the broader Goan population. It has strengthened the games, sharpened our coordination, improved our aim, strengthened our bodies, and taught us patience and perseverance. Thank you to the listeners.
Thank you, Dr. Lourdes. Those are very interesting games, especially the board games. The board games, especially that you've shown us, are really interesting because other than the lion and the goat, I think the other games are quite new. I think Ashwini has a question. Would you like to type it out, please, Ashwini? We'll wait for Ashwini to put down a question. But in the meanwhile, Ramesh wants to know about your book. Would you like to give the title of your book here?
I will write here games that we played, traditional games of Goa. Games that we played, traditional games of Goa. I can give you the picture of the book. I could bring the book and show it. Yeah, I will share. What does the word tiktem mean? Tiktem is to make three. One, two, three. Three, number three means tiktem. So you have to make three, as explained in that game, in that picture. You have to put one, two, three in a row. Then you have made one tiktem. That's
Okay.
so that is the tiktem. And name of the board. It is called tablam. Tablam. It is there. It is called tablam. And where do I write? I can write here only down. Yeah. And the title, as I said, games that we play, traditional Goan sports.
Where can we buy this?
It's not. It is out of print.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. I answered that. It is out of print. Okay, then.
Okay. Okay.
Now, okay, have I? And I will also reply to that tick time.
Tablam is the board. What there were two or three different games in that board. I think Ashwini's question is about the third game in that.
There were three questions. Are there some more?
Um,
We are out of print, I said.
yeah.
What is the question? 2 into 7 pitted one?
in the tablam, there was one game which had the two rows with
Yeah,
pits. And what is that board called?
you move the coins, and then you go on the other side and remove the other person coin.
That's the four rows.
Yes, because it depends on the number of once you throw the tabla, it depends on number that you get, the value. Like I've shown, three colored and one blank would mean six, all color would mean 12. So the person can start moving and go to the other side. When he goes to the other side, he removes the coin or stone, whatever the children use. To actually those games are played by also adults, not most of the women play it. And I believe that it is still played in Karnataka. I had asked somebody to help me out with with more details about it. He was a librarian like me, but never did it. But now maybe somebody who's watching could be able to explain more about it, because this is a very very old game. As I said, this is a heritage box, which is not made anymore. Let's see if I can ask now. These people are having, these are made, these boxes are made. That was a nice thing to add here. Were made by Chitari artisans. Now, Chitari artisans belong to a particular village in Goa, in Kunkolim, Salset, and they use traditional colors, which they have. I feel that if the first box that I showed, the modern one, was purchased from them, they have yet to attain that color, the color combination. And they used to make many many toys. They used to make fruits of wood with the green yellow color, and then they would also make a baby walker, which you push, that one. And then they have to make also the sitting stool, which is the low sitting stool, which we call here in Konkani part, and that needs to be given even as a gift to the new groom in its dowry, or better than dowry, in Oje, when they celebrate Ganesh or Diwali, whichever comes first. So they are still being used, and they are trying now to go back to our own tradition, and that's why they are having our workshop and all in the museum to encourage.
Ashwin, would you be able to tell us about these games then? I think Ramesh says that Ashwini is also an expert in pitted games from across the country. So would you be able to cast some light on this?
Here, Ashwini tells me that they are made in Santwadi, and she's right.
Yeah.
He is right. They are made in Sawantwadi, but the color combination will differ from ours. I tried buying and never was happy. If Ashwini has seen, you could see the color combination, the difference in the color, not because it is old. That's the color. I also have an old box, but I don't know where I kept in the attic. So that's the reason I used Figueredo's box, and this, of course, from the museum, because I wanted to show the difference, and I wanted to show the other games and how the old boxes were made. There were at least some 5 games in it. But nowadays, the new one, in the drawer on the verso, they have got the tiktem. Later on, they used to have. But then the artisan who made that good falling, those whole, I don't think I will, but I will send a message to the curator of the museum, where on Saturday they're going to have the next Saturday they're going to have the workshop.
Is that good for Len that you're asking about, Ashwini? What she's saying is the
Yes,
good.
yes, it was.
Okay,
Yes.
so I think her question was the name of the game Good for Len is so that would be the answer to her question. I'm glad that we could resolve that. Lovely. It was an interesting talk. Thank you so much. It was wonderful hearing about these games, and I think it brought back a lot of memories for all of us for the games that we have all heard as all played as children. And I did experience some of these games being revived in Bangalore, especially the goat and the tiger and so on. These games are being now created as board games and revived, and I think that's a great sort of a move. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Lourdes, for sharing these games with us, and thank you everyone for attending. We'll see you again next weekend. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.